York's webinar focusing on our mentor resources, which is including the Mentor Connector, National Quality Mentoring System, and the National Resource Center. So my name is Hadley Kinberg. I'm the Communications Associate here at Mentor New York. I'll be supporting the webinar today and just wanted to give you some logistics before we get started to make sure that this is the best webinar experience possible. Currently, all of our participants are on mute. At this time, you should see a picture of me on your screen. If you're not seeing that, then please let us know by writing a comment in that question section on the side panel of your screen. It's on the right-hand side. There should be a question spot, and so just let us know if you're not seeing anything that you should be seeing. If you're joining by phone and can't see the screen, make sure you've clicked the right link. It should be the first link in that invitation that you received. If you're having challenges, just again, put a question in that question section. If not, you can also send me an email. My email is hkindberg@mentorkids.org. So just send me a quick email at any point if you're having issues, or again, use that question section. We will also be taking several opportunities to answer questions. So throughout the webinar, if you have questions, just put them in that question section again, and we will take some time to answer them throughout the webinar, but also at the end of the webinar. So just let us know if you have any. At the end of the presentation, you'll also receive an email with the links that we're going to be using throughout this presentation, and our emails as well, so you can contact us. Again, if you have any issues, please do not hesitate to email me. So getting started, today's webinar will be presented by Brittany Griffin, who is our Program Development Associate here at Mentor New York, and Brenda Jimenez, who is the Director of Operations and Growth Strategies at Mentor New York. I will now hand this presentation over to Brittany.
Thank you, Hadley. So good morning, everyone. Thank you again for taking the time to join us today. On today's webinar, we will be walking you through a few mentor resources that can support your work and help enhance and expand your mentoring services. As mentoring programs, we all know the value of having available, caring adults ready to mentor. Many organizations are challenged with recruiting mentors. The investment needed to source, motivate, recruit, and screen a mentor is significant and does not guarantee that a child will be matched every time. Our mentoring connector is a great way to increase your pool of potential mentors and increase your success rate in recruiting and retaining volunteers. Most individuals searching the mentoring connector are motivated to engage in the process of becoming a mentor. They are primed to connect with an organization of their interests where they can make a difference. Today, I will go over the online platform and explain how to register and manage your mentoring connector profile. We will also discuss how you can showcase your quality program through the National Quality Mentoring System. This self-assessment process allows you to identify your strengths and develop innovative plans to strengthen and expand your mentoring services. And finally, we will share how you can get up to 50 hours of customized consultation and support from Mentor New York utilizing the National Mentoring Resource Center. The Mentoring Connector is the only national database of mentoring programs across the nation. It provides a way for mentors to identify mentoring programs in their community that match their interests that they would not have otherwise had access to. In a recent study conducted by Mentor, our national organization, the power of relationships, how and why American adults step up to mentor the nation's youth, which is the most comprehensive picture of what adults think about mentoring kids who are not their own. 44% of Americans not mentoring yet would consider mentoring. One of the main reasons still cited for not mentoring by Americans is not having enough information about where and how to mentor. This tool can help elevate awareness about your program. I also want to mention the Mentoring Connector is free. The only request we have of programs is to respond to inquiries within 48 hours. As you know, being responsive when someone inquires is key to increasing the probabilities that the individual will stay engaged throughout your program's intake process. The program responsiveness also supports our collective effort to create a positive perception of pursuing mentoring opportunities in your local community. For example, one of our local high-performing NYC programs receives at least 25 referrals a month that they consistently respond to. If you have a quality response rate and are promoting your work in the community, the connector enhances that work. Throughout the year, Mentoring Connector has moments of high traffic that you will benefit from. Our national organization, Mentor, the National Mentoring Partnership, is always working diligently to create partnerships with major corporations that provide a large pool of potential mentors that can support taking mentoring to scale throughout the country. These partnerships are encouraged to promote the Mentoring Connector with their employees. It is a fast, personal way for potential mentors to search for programs they can research that are a part of their local communities. In order to become part of the Mentoring Connector community, you must go through a simple application that will determine if your program meets the baseline quality standards outlined in the Elements of Effective Practices in Mentoring. There are a few key areas that your program must adhere to. For example, does your program have a screening process in place? Does your program conduct background checks? And does your organization require mentors to commit at least 3 months to the mentoring relationship? So let's navigate the Mentoring Connector platform together so that you become familiar with its look and feel. We want to make the process of registering and managing your Mentoring Connector profile as easy as possible. To do this, I will walk you through a mock simulation. Do not worry if you can't take clear notes. At the end of my simulation, I will provide a link to resources that will easily guide you through the process I have presented. We will also send this presentation recording and the link via email shortly following this webinar. So let's get started. I'm going to click on the link here. Okay. And here you will see it'll take us to the Mentoring Connector website. If we do have a profile, I would log in here, but if you don't, you want to add your program listing here. So you would click here to add a program. It's going to ask you, do you already have a program administrator login credentials? And since there isn't a profile made yet, you're going to select no. Okay. Sorry guys, our connection's a little slow. Okay, so it'll take you to the dashboard where you'll be able to put in your program basic information. So it'll ask for the program name, the EIN, if you have a parent organization, and if you do belong to one, you want to be able to put that information there. The physical location of your program, and the service area. So if you have multiple service areas, meaning you have a program in the Bronx, but you also have a program in Buffalo, and you service multiple areas, you are able to put in those zip codes. So when someone is looking for a program, those zip codes could pop up. You have social media, so the website, Facebook link, Twitter, the types of mentoring opportunities offered. So if it's one-on-one, is it a team program, peer, e-mentoring? Your program focus area. So are you focusing on arts, sports, STEM, or other? The meeting location, other meeting locations, the goals of your program, And if your program is operated through a business or government agency, then scrolling down, you'll see mentoring program description. This box is pretty important. You want to put as much information as possible. So when folks are searching up for mentoring opportunities, the more information, the better, and they'll have a sense of what your program does. Then we have program administrator contact information. Typically, I've seen a lot of programs put their either their executive director or the manager of the programs, just because you want to have as many people looking at this as possible. Also, you'll see the volunteer contact within your organization. So this is an important area because whatever volunteer email you put down here, that is where the inquiries are going to go to. And so if there's a lot of staff turnover, or if you have like AmeriCorps members or temporary staff and they ends up leaving and no one's checking those emails or taking that over, then the inquiries from the mentoring connector are going to go here. So I see a lot of mentoring programs, they'll put a basic email address, something like volunteers@mentornewyork.org or info@mentornewyork.org. So I would try to make this email address, if you don't have a permanent staff member, another email that is pretty permanent as someone's checking. Going down, you'll also see the mentee population. So male mentees, female mentees, the ages, the family structure of your program, the youth that you're serving. So you want to check all that apply. Then down here, you'll see mentor information. So are you accepting male volunteers, female volunteers, the ages that you are accepting for mentors. And also you'll have a mentor description box. You also want to put as much information as possible so they can get a sense and a feel of your program, but also what you're looking for, any roles or responsibilities. That'd be pretty important down here. Background checks. I do want to say a quick note about this. I do understand there's peer mentoring programs, and so typically there's no background check for a minor. There is no background check for a minor. So if that's in your case, whoever's managing the peer matches, you want to be able to make sure that they have at least had a background check. The training for your volunteers, if you do select yes, make sure you maybe 3 to 4, maybe 3 to 5 sentences of what type of training you provide. The match commitment, which we're looking for the 3 months. The frequency of contact of when you guys are meeting. And how did you hear about the mentoring connector? And then you'll be able to submit. There's a few quick things I want to mention really quickly before moving on. When you are responding to program profile questions, keep in mind that this is an opportunity to describe your program to someone that may have never heard of your organization. So just be thoughtful about what you want them to know about your program. And I also want to mention that Mentor New York is the main administrator of the New York State Mentoring Connector. So we're the ones that provide final approval of programs becoming part of the Mentoring Connector to ensure that the programs that pass the initial automated screening mentioned before are true service providers. We also receive notifications when a program has exceeded the 48-hour response requirement for a mentor inquiry. So this allows us to reach out to the organization and make sure that the inquiry emails are still going to the correct staff member. And so again, many times when staff turnover occurs, the mentoring connector isn't updated to reflect the change. So we highly recommend that several staff members are aware of the platform and how it works to ensure that when a staff member leaves, that someone is still looking at it. And so I'm just going to also show you guys what it looks like after you apply to become an active program listing, what it would look like once you have your username and password. And try to create a username or password that is pretty easy because, again, you'll be using this and going into this a lot. So we're going to use a test dummy profile. Okay, and so in your profile, on the left-hand side, you'll see volunteers awaiting response. And so we only have one record, and it's your Deli Velez. And the program, again, this is just demo test 3, but it's been 49 days since she's inquired about our demo test 3 program. And then on the right-hand side, you'll see volunteers awaiting matches. So there's been 4 records. These are tests. And so if you wanted to match, if some of the folks that had reached out to you have applied and you're ready to match them, you can go ahead and select match. But let's look at your deli for a second. You see that she's inquired, so 49 days, so we should have been, we should have emailed her. So we're going to select email volunteer. And when you select that, a template will come up with the subject of, thank you for your interest in becoming a mentor. And it just says, dear, it would be her name here, your deli. And it's just basically that first outreach of you connecting with that volunteer. Now, if you wanted to, add more language to this and you wanted to change this email template, there is a way for you to personalize it. And I'll show you that in a little bit. But this is what would be the original email. Okay. So I'm going to walk you to programs so you can see how you can change that email template. So here you'll see one record of the program, which is demo test 3. But if you have several mentoring programs or sites, they would be, you could list them here. But for now, there's only one, so we're going to go ahead and click into this program. In the first tab, you'll see program overview. So it has the administrative information, all the basic information and the questions you would have filled out when you created your profile. So if you wanted to edit any of that, you can do that in this tab. The second tab is program service areas. So let's say your mentoring program has decided to expand and now you serve maybe 3 areas across Brooklyn or 3 areas across Western New York. You'll be able to add the zip codes here. And if you wanted to add, you just, select your state, the zip code, and you'll be able to add it. And again, if you wanted to also remove it, you could remove an area as well. The third tab is documents. And if you wanted to upload any applications or any information here, you could do that here. Volunteers. This is where you would see the history of your volunteers. The 4 can be a little misleading because people think, oh, I got 4 new volunteers, but really it's just a history of the folks that have reached out to you. And so you'll see the first name, last name, the phone number, the email. You'll see the day that they inquired about your program. And you'll see that when the program has responded to the volunteer when you've been matched. And finally, you'll see the email templates. This is where you can go ahead and edit the emails. So you're going to click into the list of templates. And the reason why there's only one record is because this is the original template that the mentoring connector provided, and it's not going to let you delete that, unfortunately, but you can definitely add your own custom one. And so you see here, this is the original, and then here is the custom. So you would be able to go ahead and click edit, and this is where you can go ahead and edit the template. You can even attach a file. I recommend if you want to attach a file, maybe the document you can attach is maybe the application, or if you want to attach the roles and responsibility of the mentor. So that way in one quick interaction, you have that information there. So you're saying, hi, thanks for reaching out. If you are interested, here's more information about us, but also here's the application. So you can kind of streamline that process here. I Also want to mention where you see query.applicant's first name and all the queries here, I wouldn't delete this because the mentoring connector profile pulls your information and the volunteers' information, and they're able to insert their full name or the email address. And so it's a little easier. But if you do happen to delete, this query, you're going to end up having to write the website. You're going to end up having to write the phone number, and that's okay too. But I just wanted you guys to be aware of that function. Okay. And so that's the Programs tab. I'm going to go to Dashboard and then explain all these other tabs from the right-hand side. But Dashboard, if you click into Dashboard, this is where you can create a report, and the report you can build is maybe you want to find out how many volunteer inquiries you've had or what's the response rate. So this is where you can go ahead and create that. I'm not going to go too deep into that because there actually is a resource and a whole guide on how to pull reports. But I just wanted to show you this function of Dashboard. And then, as you know, Programs, we were just in that tab. Then I'm going to move into your contact info. So this is where you can update your password or the program administrator. You can go ahead and click edit and update that. Volunteers awaiting response. It's just that first page when you log in. So you'll see on here, on the left-hand side, awaiting responses, and then on the right-hand side, you'll see the matches that are waiting. And finally, the tab for resources, if you click into that, there's two resources. The first one is the Mentoring Connector Program Administrator Manual. So if you wanted to know more on how to function as an administrator on the platform, this is a great thing to pull up. And also the report building guide. So in dashboards, if you wanted to create a report around your program and its inquiries, you can go ahead and click on this and you'll be able to, it'll tell you a step-by-step process on how to build a report. I'm not gonna click back into here. Okay, and as promised, there is a user manual and training video available to help you as you register. And so I'm just going to show you guys really quickly if you had any questions around how to do this or tutorials, there's actually that available for you on our national website. And again, these links will be sent in an email. You will see on our nationals website, Mentor, that there is an overview of the Mentoring Connector. There's an information sheet. There's even a promotional toolkit. And for programs, there's videos on how to submit a listing to the Mentoring Connector, how to mark a match, editing your email templates, the tracking follow-up, and there's even an incentives package, which I think is pretty cool. I think they have, if I click into it, I think there is like a gift card for Starbucks if you are using this. So there's some prizes for using the Mentoring Connector. So you guys should definitely utilize some of this. And if you guys wanted to see what a potential volunteer would look like on their end, this is what on the mentor's website, you'll see that it says become a mentor, and so they would select find an opportunity. And so you will see that they're able to put in their first name, last name, email, their zip code, and the distance and what type of population they would like to serve or they're interested in, or the age and the type of mentoring, and then they would click search. And then once you have been registered and approved, your listing would come up. Okay, so before we move on, are there any questions regarding the mentoring connector. You guys can use your chat box. I can unmute you. So let me go ahead and do that now. So okay. Okay. So you guys can unmute yourselves if you happen to have any questions. If not, there's also the chat box, but I don't see anything so far. I'm also going to see if anyone has raised their hand. Okay, so we do have a question from Courtney. So it says, I already have mentors, but I was wondering if DYCD was having a training for the mentors themselves.
Yeah, so we actually have a contract with the Department of Youth and Community Development for their mentoring programs, and sometime in early February there will be some mentoring trainings available. And in the interim, if you contact Karen Bissett and the team at DYCD, there's also a mentor webinar online that you can have access to.
Okay.
Hope that helps.
Hope that helps. Let me see. I'm going to also scroll. You guys just bear with me that if there's any other hands raised or... okay. I don't see anything. Questions. I'm going to go to questions really quickly. Yep, I think that was the only question we had was from Courtney. Okay, great. So I'm going to now pass it over to Brenda, which she'll be talking about NQMS.
Yeah. So thanks, Brittany. Within the Mentoring Connector, one of the great things that you have an opportunity to do is become a part of the National Quality Mentoring System. The National Quality Mentoring System, or what we affectionately here call the NQMS, is actually a 92-question self-assessment that allows the organization to assess their current mentoring programs, practices, policies, and procedures. A lot of times we hear programs tell us that they have a great quality program, and this allows you to put some of that reality into something concrete that you can actually publicize. The assessment itself is aligned to the elements of effective practices in mentoring, which many of you have come to our offices, or we've traveled to your locations to provide a one-day workshop around the elements of effective practices in mentoring. And for many of you here today, you're actually following a lot of those practices. The assessment is actually recognized by the federal government. The Office of Juvenile Justice and Delinquency Prevention has been a huge partner in sort of making sure that as they're looking at mentoring practices, they are also aligned with the elements of effective practices in mentoring. And many times when funding opportunities are made available, they request that mentoring programs are actually following best practices. So the assessment is totally aligned with that reality. And across the country, many of our affiliates and programs experience funders utilizing the National Quality Mentoring System as sort of their way of determining the gold standard for mentoring programs. I want to say that this assessment is not a certification. It does verify that you're following practices and that you're delivering quality services, but it's not a formal certification. It focuses on program practices and is guided by quality assurance goals. It's a framework that allows you to examine the many paths that you can take in order to deliver a best practice and sort of determine how are you executing that practice, and whether or not you and your team have had the time to explore other ways that you can maximize those practices. It provides you to take a pause and actually thoughtfully examine what's happening in your organization. It's a dynamic process that captures how your program is currently managed and what strategic decisions you might want to consider to ensure that the program continues to have high quality into the future. But you have to remember that this is a snapshot in time, right? And our organizations are completely dynamic. And so because it's a snapshot in time, what we foresee in the future is that if you've taken the NQMS in 2019, for example, that in 3 years as an organization, you should try to reevaluate where you are against those effective practices. As you know, with the changing environment, with staff changes, management changes, organizations are in constant flux. So it gives an opportunity for the organization to take a pause once again and take a look at the practices that they're adhering to and that they're having deeper conversations. So one of the things I think is critically important is that when you're embarking on this assessment, Mentor New York is actually a partner in the process with you. Our experienced team will provide guidance as you respond to the assessment. We'll actually be reviewing the assessment and providing feedback, and we'll partner with you to actually review the final, so do a final review of the assessment. And as we're looking at it, examine what innovation plans or improvement plans may need to be developed in order to address some of the management and practices that you see are important for the sustainability of your program into the future. I want to tell you that this process is confidential. We don't benefit from telling the world what we've discovered. We are your trusted advisors and your partners in this process. We don't share findings with funders. We don't share findings with partners or key stakeholders. And when you go into the NQMS platform, which I'll show you momentarily, there's actually an agreement that Mentor makes, the National Mentoring Partnership makes, who owns and houses the platform, with programs that they won't share, sell, any of the information that you've input in. Our true role is to support your work. In order for us to take mentoring to scale across the state and have impact with young people, we know that strengthening your program, expanding, enhancing, and sustaining your services is a vital part of that work. So what we'll do now is talk a little bit about what it's not and what it is. So I would say that as the director of operations in Mentor New York, there are times that I have to think about evaluating our organization and our own work. And I have to say that as a manager, I'm usually hesitant about doing something like that. I don't think many managers are eager to be judged, to feel like the good work that is being done by their staff and their team is being scrutinized. And so I think that that's an honest concern. And it's one that I'd like to say that as a manager reviewing the National Quality Mentoring System, this is something that it does not do. It's not a report card, right? It works a little bit differently, and it's really about managers and staff taking the opportunity to pause, to review their practices, and assess what is currently happening in the program. I know a lot of times when I talk to my staff, I might say something and I think that that's the way that they're executing it. And in reality, that's not at all how it's executed, because there's a lot of variables that I might not have considered in the process, or that over time, the policy might exist, but the practices on the ground may not reflect the policies because they've had to be nimble with their realities. So I think this gives everybody an opportunity to sit down and have a discussion about how the work happens. It gives the opportunity to look at what barriers staff may be experiencing to execute the work, what barriers are managers experiencing to execute policies in a way that are thoughtful, and more importantly, what innovative practices, approaches are happening within your program that sometimes you just don't have time to celebrate or even acknowledge as innovative as you're doing the work. So this dialogue also allows for your team to do something that I think is so important. And here at Mentor New York, as a small staff, we even struggle with. And it's the reality of having the time to think enough to share ideas and really be thoughtful on how to navigate challenges, barriers, and create a roadmap that actually provides us the opportunity to be sustainable and grow. Many of the programs that have completed the assessment in the last couple of years with our support have shared with our team that having the time to think about their work and having deeper conversations with their staff about policies, practices, and service delivery has really confirmed the quality of their work, has helped them identify new approaches to their work, and has allowed for new ideas to flourish so that they can have greater impact with the young people that they work with. So one of the things I'll say is that many of our mentoring programs have small staff. And one of the things that when you embark in this process you will have is us as a true thinking partner, sharing ideas, practices and resources. As we work with programs across the state, we've seen things that work, we've seen things that haven't worked. We've been able to say, hey, here's a resource that has been really helpful to other programs. And so that you're not creating this in isolation or reinventing the wheel. You're actually working from a place of strength when you're partners with us. So let me walk you through sort of the NQMS process. So the first step is the part that Brittany sort of outlined for you prior to this section, which is becoming a part of the mentoring connector. So once you're part of a mentoring connector and you're really thinking about becoming part of the National Quality Mentoring System process, you contact one of our team and let us know that that's what you intend to do. And we will make sure to activate the NQMS, National Quality Mentoring System tab in the mentoring connector. So that what we would add is an additional tab to the tabs that Brittany showed you before around programs and volunteer inquiries. Right? So the next step, once we've allowed the tab to live in your mentoring connector platform, is that you log into mentoring connector, which we will do shortly. Start to work on the NQMS self-assessment process. Now, let me say this. It is 92 questions. I have yet to meet someone that does it in one sitting, although possible. And what it allows you to do is just be able to work at your own pace in the process and be able to have the rich conversations you need to have with your staff. So NQMS, the platform itself will document your progress as it goes. And then once you're completed and submit the NQMS process, we're made aware of that and we start our review process. So we'll show you what the questions look like, what it is that you're being asked, in order for you to have a better understanding of the actual self-assessment. Once we review the actual self-assessment, we take a lot of notes, we review the documents you've attached, and we start to provide our own feedback around your ratings and your thoughts and your ideas. And then we schedule a meeting to discuss those pieces with you. Most of the time, it takes a couple of meetings to go through the assessment together to discuss and clarify some of the things that the team has articulated so that we better understand. so that we're able to provide suggestions and feedback. And then together we determine what are truly the areas that your organization wants to focus on in order to enhance or maybe improve the program quality or the program services you're currently providing. So once that innovation plan kicks in, we don't go away. We actually stick with you. They might be a series of projects that you develop from the plan. There might be a series of areas that you need special consultation in, or you might just want to pick up the phone and call and say, are we on the right track? And that's what we'll be here for, to support you. And once you do that, one of the things that the NQMS truly does is provide you real estate. And so if you know anything about Google or search engines, the more that you're sort of sourced and linked, or if you have the finances, if you purchase the ability to be part of the first page or the first 3 organizations that pop up in the search, that's prime real estate. And you becoming part of the National Quality Mentoring System and completing your plan and determining that you are following the elements of effective practices, we actually provide you with a National Quality Mentoring System badge. And this allows you to have prime real estate in the Mentoring Connectors search engine, which then allows when someone puts in their zip code to be able to see your organization in the top of the options in that area. So what I'm going to do now is walk you through the actual resource in the Mentoring Connector. Okay, I just have to log out. We have another dummy account so that I can get in here. So once you're in the Mentoring Connector, you've requested to be part of the NQMS system, and we've lit up your NQMS tab on the dashboard. Okay, maybe not. Let's see this. Okay, there we go. This is what you'll see. So like I said before, this would be the NQMS badge you would have as you're going through the process, so that people know you're actually in the process of going through your NQMS. So let's just look at what you will initially see. So when you go in, the first thing that will pop up when you become part of the NQMS is actually going to be a tab that asks if you comply with the process of NQMS. It outlines what mentor is obligated to around privacy that I mentioned before, and it also will outline what the expectation of the process for you will be. It also explains what I mentioned before. It's a 92-question self-assessment that looks at program management, policies, screening, and the evaluation process of the program. Okay, so in those questions, they're divided into categories. And as you can see, each category is aligned with an alphabet letter and the number of questions within each section. As you're doing this, you're not going to complete it in one sitting like we've discussed before. So as you answer questions, it'll let you know how many questions in each section you've answered and how far along in completion you are. Many times you start this process, you get to a question and you realize, I can't answer that. I really have to pull in different staff people to have this rich conversation, and you'll pause in this section and then move forward. So there are different approaches people take. Some of them skim through the questions throughout the assessment to know which ones they can answer readily, and then go back to the more challenging questions because they know that it takes a little bit of time of reviewing documentation, talking to staff, and understanding what's really happening in the program. For our purposes today, let's just go into a mentoring program design so that you can see what a question looks like and what you're being asked. So for mentoring program design, there are 5 questions, and they're pretty straightforward. Does your program have a mission statement? Does your program have goals and objectives for its services and activities? And so you'll have the opportunity to say yes or no. You'll be able to rate your actual mission statement, and you'll be able to provide any other commentary that you feel is important for the reviewer to know, or even for your information in the future. So this is what I would see once you've submitted it. I would see what your rating is, what your response was, and any additional comments you may have. And then I start to review and assess some of those pieces. For many of these pieces, individuals do upload documents so that we can look at. So if it says something like a manual, policies and procedures, they would upload the policies and procedures. And it allows us to take a look at things and for us to reference it as we're looking at other policies and procedure questions throughout the platform. So that's essentially what the questions look like, and it is a process. Now, what I will say is this. As my team starts the review process, we realize something very consistently about programs, and it's that they're extremely harsh on themselves. I think we find ourselves more times than not providing programs with higher ratings, better feedback than they would even give themselves. And so we really take a look at what you have to say and be objective, but more importantly, we value the conversation of the assessment process, because that's when we discover the rich work you're doing, and we're able to really acknowledge the amazing quality and work that's being done. So that's essentially the questions. Now, once you've submitted this, there is a section, let me go back to the dashboard. So once you've completed the assessment, I just wanted to show you what happens once we've met and we start to think about developing an innovation plan together. So once questions are completed and we've agreed on the rating and where you stand for each of your questions, and they are submitted, NQMS will start to determine which of those questions need action items because they're not in practice, or we might discover you're not in practice because it just doesn't apply to your program model. Which of those items are in practice from the NQMS, which ones don't apply for whatever reason to your particular model. And then it asks, of the areas that we have determined need action items, which ones do you want to develop goals for? And that's where your innovation and improvement plan is generated. And this is a partnership. This is a communication we have together. We allow you the time to think about what it is that you want to tackle. Of course, that has resource and sustainability implications for the organization, and we have those conversations. Some of the goals that you make may be very low-hanging fruit, actually take very little effort, and so you kind of do the simple stuff as well to be in alignment. But then for the richer goals of the organization, it's really thinking about what does it mean for the organization. If you're going to grow, how quickly? If you're going to innovate, how much? If you're going to improve, what would it take? And so we work through that together and create the improvement and innovation plan so that you can begin the work. From that plan, we can actually create, if necessary, our sort of project plan together on how we support you as you embark on that journey if you need that. So that's what that would look like for you. Once that's completed, again, you have the badge. You will get the badge, and that allows you to have high real estate in the Mentoring Connector search engine. So one of the things that I would say is that the National Quality Mentoring System is really a great management tool to start to look at what is it that you do really well, what are some areas you want to enhance, what are some things that you didn't even know or thought were happening in your organization. And we think that the individuals who have gone through this process have really found it extremely helpful. They have found it reinvigorating. It refocuses their work sometimes. And they know that they have us as thinking partners and advisors as they continue to sort of grapple on how to move to the next level of sustainability for their program. So now I'm going to pause and ask if anybody has any questions about what we just presented. Again, you can take the time to unmute yourself, or you can ask a question in the question box. Okay, let's see if anybody. Okay. So since there's no other questions, I'll hand it back over to Brittany to talk about the National Mentoring Resource Center.
Okay, so our final resource for today's webinar is the National Mentoring Resource Center. The National Mentoring Resource Center is funded through the Office of Department of Juvenile Justice and Delinquency Prevention. It's the only national resource center tracking the needs for growth and sustainability for mentoring programs across the country. And so this resource allows programs to receive free TA support for at least 25 hours per assignment. It also holds us, Mentor New York, the TA provider, accountable for the services we provide. It really allows us to be your thinking partner and professional management consultant as you navigate the different opportunities and challenges that your mentoring program may face in its service life cycle. So for many organizations, there are always projects, challenges, and opportunities that may come up, and they may be uncertain of how best to address them with the minimal resources and the maximizing current capacities and leveraging the opportunity. Since Mentor New York works with over 800 programs across the state, we have seen many different models, practices, and organizational strategies that have been successful. We can provide the guidance and support you may need to continue to execute quality services. And so on the PowerPoint, you'll see that there are some examples of technical assistance that we have seen and provided services around. So development of high quality mentoring training materials. So we've had programs approach us with like, hey, I need help with the curriculum for the training of my mentors, and so we'll help with that. And if you need any strategic recruitment plans, you want to be more targeted in your recruitment plans or the screening strategies, we'll be able to help with that. Also, if you need help with improving the match support process, and recommendations on best practices for serving challenging populations. Maybe there's a certain population you're serving and you need a little more help around what does this population need. You know, our national organization has a lot of evidence, research-based evidence around certain populations. There's many studies, so we have those resources and we want to be able to help you with some of that stuff. And I'm going to take the time to walk you guys through the TTA 360 portal so you are familiar with the platform and what to expect when requesting services. Again, if you miss any information, we will go through the demonstration. If you miss any information, we'll definitely have resources at the end of the webinar to provide. So let's go ahead and navigate the platform really quickly. So I'm going to select the link. Let me close out some of these. And so this is the NMRC website. This is the homepage of the NMRC. This is not where you're going to request the actual TA support, but I do want to just show you guys that this is a great resource. They even have a learning hub here under this tab that has webinars, studies and reports and articles, measurement guidance toolkit, the tools to strengthen match support and closure. So there's other resources that NMRC provides besides the requesting TA. On the right-hand side, you'll see this red box that says click here to support. Sorry, can't see. It says, click here to submit at no cost request. So this is where you can go ahead and select, click into that and request TA support. Also down here, you'll see a video, and this is a tutorial on how to submit a request through the TTA 360. And there's also a user guide for requesters. And so now I'm just gonna click into this red box here. Oh, let me log out. Yes, so this is what you will see when you click the red box. You will see this is the TTA 360's website. This is where you would go to actually submit a request for TA. You can create your account here where it says create an account, and then you can submit it after you created your account. But I'm gonna just log in to a dummy account so you guys can see what it looks like as a requester. Okay, so this would be your home page. Under user management, you would see my account. You can click into that. And you'll see that it has the personal information, your login information. Quick note about login information, please remember your username and password, because when I discuss the NMRC process, you're gonna have to log into this portal quite frequently. And so, you know, maybe making an easy password or storing it somewhere, because a lot of what you're going to be doing is coming out of this portal. The organization's information, and you will be a requester. So I am a requester, but Mentor New York is a TTA provider. Going back to the home page, to actually submit a TA request, under training and technical assistance, this is where you'll be able to submit that request. So let's say I have a mentoring program and I need to have this new curriculum for my mentors. Maybe I need the curriculum to touch upon soft skills and I need help with someone, you know, helping me with that. So this would be a great resource and a great request for something like that. So if you scroll down, you'll see the requester information, which is my information. Current OJJDP grantee. So if you are a grantee of the Office of Juvenile Justice Delinquency Program, you would click yes or no if you are. If not, you could leave it like. And then you'll see TTA provider, and it's going to ask from which provider are you requesting TTA? And if you click on this drop-down box, there's a lot of options. The option you want to select specifically for mentoring and specifically through the NMRC is the National National Mentoring Resource Center. So this is the option you would be selecting if you were requesting TA from us. Then it says type of TTA. So for me, I need help with training, so I'm going to select training. But more so, I'm going to select train the trainer because I essentially want Mentor New York, the provider, to train me on how to train my mentors. So I would select that. And if there was any other requests, you can go ahead and select that. But just for the sake of this example, I'm using the training as an example. Who is my target audience? So I would select all that apply. So for me, it's volunteers in my program. The request topic, so please select all topic areas where assistance is needed. You must select at least one topic area or one subtopic within your selection. So I'm going to say it's mentoring. Mentee training, there we go. And if we scroll down, it's the request summary. You do want to put as much information as possible, just so when our national organization is approving the request, they'll be able to see what exactly you need. So the more information, the better. So you're just going to describe what the training or TA that is requested from your organization. The second box is previous efforts. So what have you done in the past to address this condition or issue? The goals and outcomes. So what is it that you want to achieve as a result of the training or TA that will be provided? And if there's any resource or consultants that are specific that you want to receive TA from, you can go ahead and describe that here. But it's not Mentor New York, you put us. And when does the training or TA needs to begin? So within 30 days, 60 days, or unsure. And you could even talk a little bit more here in this box about the timing of when the assistance is needed. And finally, at the bottom, if you do have any documents you want to be able to support with this request, maybe it's a document that you spoke about in your previous efforts, you can go ahead and attach it down here, and then you'll be able to submit it at this blue box right here. And after you submit it, which I'm going to walk you guys through now, is the NMRC process to show you guys what happens after you click that blue button. Okay, so this is the NMRC process. So you first request the TA through TTA 360. Then it's going to go to Mentor, our national organization, which will need to approve it. And so once it has been submitted and screened by Mentor, a TA provider will be assigned to the request, and it'll send you an email, which is the initial needs assessment. The TA provider will be us, because Mentor New York is we're the only affiliate in the state of New York. And so after it gets approved and assigned to us, you'll get that initial needs assessment, which must be completed promptly so the TA engagement can start. And the initial needs assessment is just something like a little, kind of like a survey almost, where it just asks you a couple of questions about what your needs are and what your knowledge is around. For me, in my example, for training, like what do I know how to train? My knowledge of the elements of effective practice, like is it fair, is it poor? So it's just ask some basic questions. And once the initial needs assessment is reviewed by the TA provider, we will work with you to discuss the scope of work and create the MOU, which is a Memorandum of Understanding. And this is just basically holding both parties accountable, holding us accountable to deliver what we said we're going to deliver, and for you as well. And the scope of work will be outlined in the MOU. The requester must review it and agree prior to the TA engagement for it to officially begin. And so once the MOU, everybody agrees, the TA occurs, and so Mentor New York would help me with my training. And once the training and the TA has been done, a TA evaluation will be automatically sent to be completed by the requester. And programs cannot receive further TA until the evaluations are filled out by the requesting program. It's very important that that gets filled out. And finally, 3 months after the TA engagement ended, a post-assessment will be sent automatically via email. So that's important because we just want to know how the TA support helped your program, and also it can help for future funding. So we're able to do this through funding. So it's important that that gets filled out. And that's basically the final step of the NMRC process. And so,
yep, I just wanted to add one more thing and just be mindful that as you're looking at those orange boxes, each of those orange boxes will have a moment where you'll have to log in to complete a document. None of the documents are actually more than a 5 or 10 minute lift of your time, but it can stagnate the process to getting us to working together as soon as possible. And for a lot of projects, 25 hours is only the beginning, and you are eligible to resubmit for more time around the work that we're doing together. And so it's important to just close out that project so we could get moving to the next one. So really think about the things that you need support in and how we can help. And as you're navigating what you're thinking of potentially doing, give us a call and let us know, because we can help sort of kick you off in thinking what's the best approach for doing things. So I think that sort of wraps up Brittany's piece right now. And we're going to open it up to questions again. And again, you can unmute yourself, and I'm going to start looking at some questions that we have already submitted. So Natari Cannon is asking, is this assessment required of all mentor programs, or is it for self-reflection? So it's not required, Natari, the National Quality Mentoring System. I'm sorry if I'm mispronouncing your name, but Ms. Cannon. It's not required of programs. It is truly a self-assessment. What we find organizations are utilizing it for is to be able to talk to funders and say, and elevate sort of their business case. Not only when they're promoting their programs, but when they're looking for funding. So it is sort of a self-reflection for you and the organization, but also a way that you can market and build a business case for the quality of your work. So Courtney had a question. If my site has already interviewed mentors, do they have to fill out these documents? So none of this work is actually for the mentors. This is all for programs, Courtney. If you're interviewing mentors, and this is the DYCD question, again, in programming, if you've interviewed mentors and your organization has walked them through the application process and your own individual screening process, then you're responsible for the matching of your mentors. So if you recruit a mentor from Mentor Connector, the moment in which they're filling out the application and interviewing from your organization, those volunteers are now under your program. They're not owned by anybody else in the process, because your program owns the intake process for that particular volunteer. I hope that answers your question. Does your organization assist with identifying potential funding sources for new program? So this is Ms. Turner. So we do at times when we get huge notifications, we're in part of different funding listservs, and many times because we ourselves are not providing direct service, we do send out emails often to programs to say, here are some opportunities that we see might be effective for you. One of the things that we're happy to help with, even through an NMRC consultation, is sort of thinking about what are some of the things that you are looking for to potentially get funding, and how to potentially target and source places so that you have some type of system in place as you have other staff or maybe even AmeriCorps interns come in to help you identify funding sources for the particular program that you are providing. Any other questions? So I think if there are not any other questions, I think we've given you tons of information in a short amount of time. And if we've done our job well, we've actually been able to provide you what we said we would and give you 20 minutes that you thought you wouldn't otherwise have for this morning. So again, thank you for joining us. Thank you, Brittany, for walking everybody through. She is our residential expert in all our platforms. Please make sure that you log on to our website, mentornewyork.org. We always have more resources. Make sure that you contact, myself and Brittany or Hadley at any time. Our communications person is always happy to help and support everyone. And like we mentioned before, we'll be sending out an email to everyone with links to resources, and we're always available to answer any additional questions. Have a wonderful day and Happy New Year, everyone.
Yes, thank you guys.